Are you tired of lugging around heavy, bulky tree stands, whether you're using a climber or a hang-on, and would prefer to hunt lighter and more mobile? If you said yes, then you need to check out the Tethered Mantis Saddle and Predator platform. For me, this setup has done a couple things for me over the past year and a half. I've definitely been more mobile, lighter, and when you get into those situations where maybe the wind switches on you or whatever, and in years past you didn't want to pull all your gear, just because you didn't want to move it, didn't want to make additional noise and things of that nature. This kind of solved all those problems for me, and I'm able to kind of tear down quickly, make a move if I need to make a move, and get set up without losing a whole lot of hunting time. The other thing I do a lot more of with this is actually I'll still hunt my way through, or just kind of go into an area where I'd like to check out, scout with all my stuff on my back. It's super light, so I don't really even notice it, and I hunt to where I'm going, or I still hunt through to where I'm ultimately going to set up, which is a great benefit, has been a great benefit to me so far this year. If you're interested in all these things, then you need to head over to tetherednation.com, check out all their information related to saddle hunting, and release your inner tree ninja. First thing I do in the morning before a hunt is, of course, I have to have my morning coffee, and I'm sure most of you out there probably feel the same. Make sure you're filling your mug with Skull Brew coffee, as it is the only coffee company that is both 2% for conservation certified and, of course, donates 10% of their profits to conservation organizations who are helping us to secure the future of our wild places. So head to skullbrewcoffee.com and choose between 3 kilo roasts of coffee, and know that you are supporting conservation with every sip. All right, if you listen to this podcast for any length of time, you guys know that I am good friends with all the guys over at Exodus. And I want to give you a quick heads up that you should be checking out some of their content if you haven't already. They have a podcast out called Trail Cam Radio, and they release new episodes every Tuesday. So the day before you listen to this one, you could be listening to that one as well. They've done some deep dives with some great guests. You'll recognize some of these names as Jeff Sturgis, Dan Enfalt, and the Hunting Public. And they also jump into and talk to some less-known hunters who consistently are getting it done many times on public land. If you prefer to watch podcasts, if you're looking for some video content, they have a YouTube channel as well, and that is packed, of course, with great videos and interviews. One of the most popular ones they did is a candid interview with John Eberhardt, and if you know anything about John, you always get the straight dope from him. And for specifically my PA listeners, they just recently posted a public land big woods interview with Steve Shirk, which I consumed, and it is pretty awesome. This dude's killing hammers and getting on giant deer in Pennsylvania, so it's absolutely a must listen. So if you're looking for more whitetail content, especially here during the course of the season, you just can't get enough. Be sure to head over to their podcast, Trail Cam Radio, and their YouTube channel, Exodus Trail Cameras, and drop them a subscription or review, and let them know that Truth from the Stand sent you. If you're also in the market for a trail camera, over the last 4 years, of course, Exodus has consistently showed they build quality trail cameras that flat out just work. Of course, the best trail camera warranty, period. Every single camera is backed by a 5-year warranty and even comes with a theft and damage coverage. That's right, 5 years, literally half a decade, you'll be covered by the Exodus 5-year warranty. But more than likely, you won't need it because the cameras are built to last. Welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Skull Brew Coffee Company. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 152, bringing you the Iowa Rut Log, day numbers 12 and 13, with Johnny Utah and the Whitetail Drifter, so stay tuned. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. This is a continuation kind of sorts of the Iowa Rut Log that me and John and we had Taylor on at one point, but this is a special episode because we have the man, the myth, the legend, a guy I've been wanting to have on the show for a while, and he just so happened to pass through town today, saw John crossing the bridge, and we got to have a little breakfast today together. I'm talking about the one, the only whitetail drifter, Mr. Connor Wakefield. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time coming, dude. We've been wanting to do one of these podcasts for a while, and just now finally, it just seemed like it was meant to be.
It did. Everything aligned tonight and today, besides for me. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
So, yeah, happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
The digs is pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is it's
home for a little while.
Yeah, it's home for a little while. It's rustic chic.
It is industrial,
polished turd.
Contemporary
Yeah.
Art Deco.
Yeah. I have a pet mouse that I keep
I'm sure
seeing
you
running
probably have
around.
a couple.
Yeah. Yeah. He's all right.
Yeah,
Though.
that's just the one you know about.
Yeah. It's the only one that's walked into my mouth while I was mouth breathing, sleeping, so.
Pulled the old Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's it.
Or
I'm
Tom
out.
Green.
Yeah, Tom Green. Yeah, I'd be like, I'm out.
Do we have to explain that, Clint? I know you're not a.
Yeah, I was telling Connor that I know zero movies. Like my movie knowledge stops like when Wayne's World 2 came out.
Right?
Like that was like the end of it. John asked me if I saw The Matrix, and I was like, no, I never saw it.
I'm like, you've never seen any of the John Wicks?
Huh?
Like, are you serious?
You don't know who John Wick is?
No.
Well, and whenever we were talking about the movies that he'd seen, I started thinking about that Christmas office party.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "What? You've never seen Fast and Furious? Like, dude, they only get more fast and more furious."
Like 7 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just not a movie buff, man. It's like I don't know what it was.
It probably keeps your mind more pure and clear.
Well, growing up, it's like we didn't have cable in my house. We had this
Dude, me too.
6, 8, and 10.
Yeah.
We had 3 channels.
Yeah.
And that was it. And if it wasn't on 6, 8, and 10, like you weren't watching it.
You just learn not to watch, like not to even like watching TV.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. It's like we eventually got a dish, but it was like I was like a senior probably in high school getting ready to leave, for college or whatever. And so
You'd already dealt with not having TV
I found
for so long.
I have found extracurricular activities.
Yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean? To bide my time. I didn't need TV. I made TV in my mind.
That's right. Been there.
Right.
And that's how analysis paralysis started.
Analysis paralysis.
That's right.
It was invented then.
That's right. But we're here to talk some whitetails. We're nearing the end of my Iowa trip. I guess I can talk a little bit about, what I've seen to this point, in the past 2 days that since I've done the last podcast, and give an update. And John, you can give an update, and then Connor can give his. He has probably the biggest update out of all of us. And then we'll just kind of go from there, see where the wind blows us. But as everyone knows, it's been listening to these rut logs. I've been tracking down this big 8 that I refer to as, and I missed him on day like 6 or whatever it was. Took a couple days, but then I ended up getting back on him, missed him a second time, which just like it was ridiculous that it's happened twice. And then you would think that you wouldn't see him again, but I've sat 3 other times in a general area hoping to catch back up with him, and I've seen him twice. I've seen him the past 2 days. He gave me a shot opportunity at 26 yards. Yeah, I think it was 26 yards. Last evening, I couldn't take the shot because I couldn't get drawn because he was looking in my direction. I didn't have enough cover between he and I to try to get drawn back, so he got a pass. And then tonight, I rattled and grunted him back in. Same setup, same everything, only this time he decided he'd had enough of getting taken by surprise and slipped in behind me. I never heard him coming, and he got downwind of me, and then I didn't know he was behind me. And I ended up moving to look behind me. I was in my saddle, so I was looking to look behind me. He was maybe 50 yards away, but all the leaves and shit are all off the trees at this point now. So it's like you can see a good ways.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he maybe caught a little bit of my wind. There wasn't a ton of wind, so it might have just been pulling in that general area. That and he's also, the whole reason I set up there is because there's that little draw that's there, and that's like where the thermals are kind of pulling and stuff in the evening. So he was, I have no doubt, probably using some of that to his advantage as well. Mm-hmm. And as I moved my head to kind of look back behind me, I just heard, whoosh, and I was like, no, you got to be kidding me. And I just slowly turned around the other way because I could hear it was coming from this side. Mm-hmm. So I turned the other way and looked, and I could just see his frame. I was like, again, he shows up yet again, and he's not going to die. Yeah. So I got to come up with a different game plan, and we can talk about what our game plans are going forward, and what my plan is for him or what I'm doing for the last couple of days of my hunt. But that's been basically my update. It's been cold as hell.
Yeah.
But getting some hunts in. How about you, John? Like, how the hunt's been?
So I had a lot of plans for this year, and then you guys know how much I was on the road, traveling out of country, and sure, I like traveling and I like being busy, but it was more of a financial thing. I had to work. I had to take some freelance work. So I got a little behind the 8 ball on some of the stuff that I wanted to do. I've never been really good, and it will admit it. I've never been really good at October buck hunting. And it was one of the things I talked to like Cody, DeQuisto about, and him and I were going to try to link up, and then it just didn't happen. But I was literally going to be like, hey, handhold me and teach me some more stuff that you do in particular. Right. And I can compare it to what I do, and maybe I can find out what place I'm lacking in. But so our schedules didn't line up, and I wasn't able to do that. So the only thing I really could do was set up for the rut. And I basically gave myself like a 4 or 5 day window. Like, I need to capitalize on these 4 or 5 days because October is kind of a bust for me. And I went back to where I killed from last year and was seeing action. But last year I was able to grunt and rattle across the field. This year they weren't coming across the field. They were just playing over there on that side of the field. So 8th, 9th, 10th was just on fire.
You're seeing good bucks.
I saw every single one of my shooters except for one, and I gave a pass to a tank of a buck that maybe at the time I was like, he's 3, 4. And then of course you get back and in the comfort of your office and you're watching the video footage and you're like, no, he's 4 or 5, every bit of, if not older.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, geez, I let one slip away there. But I had him at like 42 yards for 2 minutes broadside with his head down eating alfalfa. Nice. And so I was really upset. But again, it's one of those things like I didn't jump off the bridge because I thought I got him there. I had him there. Right. All I had to do was pull a bow back.
And the other thing is too is like we saw a little bit of good stuff for like a day or two, and you and I kept talking. We're like, man, it's gonna pop.
Yeah,
like at some point.
Any day now.
And it just we haven't had that like that big pop that we thought that we were gonna see, where it was just like chaos. Now you and I talked about like it might be happening 400 yards into the timber. You might be in the right spot. It's just all very small movements during the rut can be the difference between like shit being on fire and stuff just being okay.
Right.
You know. Well, and then on the 11th, I thought, all right, maybe I should make one stab, and I'm gonna go to the other side of the field, get a little more aggressive, but I'll get downwind of them. So I got a 400-yard gap, and I'm gonna close the distance down to like 150 yards, and I did, and we just didn't see much that day, and I thought, that's kind of weird. I'm going back to my other spot. I go back to my other spot, and I see another shooter, and I'm like, darn it. I probably should have stayed over there. You know what I mean? Right. And then I'm like, that's it. Tomorrow I am going over there. I don't like the setup. But it's just, what they always say, like, don't try to kill deer where you want to kill them where they're killable. Right, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I was going to a spot that I didn't want to be in, but it was the highest percentage chance for me to get in and to not get winded to kill this buck in particular. And, it's kind of like when the carnival comes in town, like the circus carnies, like not the good ones, like the really like shitty ones. You know what I mean? Like the operators running the tilt-a-whirl
often.
Yeah, they're like not wearing a shirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're like, have a seat. Are you? Yeah, you're close enough to height. Jump on here, kid.
So that seatbelt doesn't need to work. You're good.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's never worked. You're fine. So I feel like when I went over to the other side of the field, like the 11th, 12th, 13th. It literally is like if you showed up on Monday morning to where the carnival was that weekend. I see like bubblegum wrappers and some popcorn and some plates where like the funnel cakes used to be on. That's it. All the games are gone. The people are gone. The carnies are gone.
Right.
The tilt-a-whirl, the lights aren't blinking
There's like
anymore.
one purple bear that someone
Dude,
won.
that's such a good analogy.
It is. That's where I'm at. Like I literally I went over there and it was Monday morning after the carnies left. Damn carnies.
It's just like a random pair of underwear and socks.
Blame the carnies,
Blame the carnies.
There's a random pair of underwear and socks laying there. You're like, what the hell happened here?
Like somebody got a little crazy. Yeah. So that's my analogy. And like to me, like that's the best thing I could come up with, like when describing the rut. Because it is literally the lights are flashing, the bells are jingling, and people are winning prizes. And when it's over, it's over.
Yep.
That's what it's been from my experience.
Yeah.
Now, there's always that theory of the Bucks are on lockdown and then they're going to break back open again. And maybe we'll get a little midnight showing of, the Carnies Part 2. But
Right.
I don't know. I'm uncharted territory for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I'm hoping that my last 2 days, I'm hoping we get another little break open of things, and we can talk about that here in a minute, because there's some sign it's getting laid back down that might tell us that we might have another little wave of things that's about to come. That they're getting off of lockdown and stuff.
It's been that slow for you guys?
I mean,
yeah.
I had
you really think you went through a lockdown phase?
I think that's what I mean. I haven't seen anything over 2 years of age in the last the last 3 days. So I'm like, I was seeing 4 or 5 year old shooter bucks every single day, and all of a sudden now I'm seeing spikes and forks. I'm like, ugh.
And are you at that stand that's closest, or you're at the stand that's 400 yards?
No, I'm at the close spot, and I got does all around me.
And that's closer to the thick, right?
Yeah. I moved to within. I'm within 10 yards of the timber line for their bedding line, and I'm just downwind of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what I mean? I would love to be 50, 60 feet inside the timber. But I actually, the morning we had the crazy snow, I'm like, ain't nothing moving right now. They're bedded up, and there's tons of noise. I literally was like almost hands and knees, like peeked inside the timber, and I'm like, you'd have to get like a 3-yard shot. Like, this is the best you can get.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is like Narnia thick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we walked back in there when we were shed hunting when I was out in March.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it's just gnarly.
Yeah.
It's like, if you could get into a tree, good luck, number one. Number two, it better be like sitting in your lap to kill it. Like, you'd be better off like going Rambo style with like a Bowie knife.
You would.
Yeah.
Like, actually, the best way to hunt that would probably be to get in one of those little gullies and like seriously like horizontal recurve shoot these things.
Yeah.
That's like the best bet. Now, what I want to do for next year is I do want to get in there, and I do want to get a lot of shooting lanes cut in there, but it's only if I can find the main highway.
Right.
Like, because if you're 10 foot off,
no chance.
yeah, you might hear them, you might not. I don't know, but you sure as hell ain't gonna get a shot at them.
Right. Yeah. So
that's me. That's my season so far.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been
And tomorrow morning I'm sleeping in. I'm throwing in the towel tomorrow morning. I need one good morning.
Rut's over.
To sleep
I'm
in.
done.
Yeah, peak rut's over. I'm gonna start firing up the turkey calls.
see you guys next year.
I'm ready for turkey season.
Do you guys fall turkey hunt? That's a joke.
I will shoot one though.
No, I will too.
Yeah, if I see one. Yeah.
I maybe I should. Maybe that's the one turkey season I'd be good at. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I should stop deer hunting since I missed those.
Well,
and
they're
start
kind of
fall turkey
herded
hunting.
up.
Yeah, you
know?
can pattern them, man.
Oh yeah, like
I've seen a bunch down there, down in that piece near that cornfield. I've seen a bunch of turkeys down there.
Yeah, they're in big packs, man. At that one lease that I've been hunting at, it's funny because I heard like a hen hammering, like she's just back here, burr, 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 burr. And I looked at Taylor and I said, about 6, maybe 7 minutes. I said, you're going to see the first one come out here and it'll be a whole gaggle, man. It'll be like 40 of them, all hens. And he's like, no way. 5, 6 minutes later, he's like, holy crap, that was like 40 hens. I'm like, every single day.
That's crazy.
That's
man.
encouraging to hear because I almost came down here to turkey hunt, but I heard there was like a bobcat surplus this year.
Yeah.
And like the hatch wasn't that great because of it. So like
Yep.
turkey hunters really struggled down here this year, I heard.
Yeah. This is the first year that I didn't kill an Iowa bird.
Me too.
I wasn't
Yeah,
here.
me too. So
I mean, I was gone a lot, but the days that I
Right.
did hunt, I should have more than likely killed one. But yeah, I didn't get it done. I had to go to Kentucky and shoot some down there.
Yeah, you were all over the place this turkey season, man.
Yeah, Nebraska, Kentucky.
Yep. But so we had, okay, deer hunting today and in the past few days. But Connor gets here, has some breakfast with us. It's like I'm in the
Hey,
tree.
let's look at the difference at breakfast.
that's true.
Which one did not blow his guts out after he left that greasy spoon? Because he just had coffee.
Yeah.
He played it cool.
I did.
I almost didn't make it back home.
Dude, I went like 4 times.
Yeah.
Literally, I went twice at the restaurant.
Yeah. It's something how it hits you that fast. It's like, where they put X-Lax in like the pancakes or something.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. I went to school, like college for a year and a half, like 30 minutes north of here. And we swore up and down they put some sort of laxative in the cafeteria food because you couldn't make it back to the dorm.
Yeah.
Could not make it.
Well, think about it. You're saving on plumbing bills.
Dude, yeah. You're not going to clog anything up. It's moving right through. And
It's flowing. Heavy flow.
It was bad, man. We didn't like it.
No, I don't think so. But so you played it cool. You had coffee, didn't have the greasy spoon special that John and I had. Ugh. And I'll let you tell the story. So how was your hunt today? This was your first Iowa hunt of the year?
No.
Okay.
So I've spent the last, yes, basically. I spent the last 4 or 5 days down in Kentucky filming for Josh Profit. We went to a pretty big piece, and he was on a couple good deer, had a couple good deer in the area. We tried to hunt him down. It just didn't work out. Low deer density and just
he has
really
a lot of EHD
big
going on down
places.
there too.
Yeah. We actually moved. We went to the new piece where he relocated to. Yeah.
All right.
And it's just a low deer density and really, really freaking big. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But good time. Turns out you put like 2 hardcore solo hunters in the tree together, like not much serious deer hunting gets done. Like we crack jokes nonstop. Mm-hmm. He like gives the definition of dead downwind, like following him into the woods. Like just don't do it. Like that's my suggestion. Like
do it.
It's bad.
Yeah.
But anyways, got back today. I actually tried getting up here last night, but I've learned I got a problem staying awake on the road.
Yeah, that's a
late
good thing
at
to
night.
learn.
So
yeah.
I've finally talked myself into pulling over, and I happen to know enough good people now. Like you just got friends everywhere.
Sure.
And my buddy Public Land Drew opened up his home to me, fed me, watered me, fed me craft beer, and then crashed and got up about 4 a.m. and started rolling up here.
Yeah.
And came across the bridge. Sure enough, first truck I see is Utah. Rolling in, I got my arm out the window pointing at him, and we meet up, and turns out, everyone's having breakfast in 20 minutes or so. So we sat down and did that, but I hadn't been in town, so initially I wanted to get in and check a couple cameras. I've got them pretty close to access, so I'm not making too much intrusion. And the one that I do make quite a bit of intrusion to is like near ag or food source, and I just don't expect to be the ones I'm chasing like bedded right there. Right. So I went ahead and dove in and pulled that card, which that was dead. So just gonna upgrade cameras next year, have to. And,
do you have anything decent on your card pool?
Yeah, that's what told me. The second camera I pulled told me I need to hunt here, but I was like, I need to check that just in case it's dead, because even if I come back down on Sunday, like I'm going to be mad that I left it there for 3 days just not working.
Yeah.
So went back to my initial spot, and I actually stayed further back because this is one of the areas that I have hunted multiple times. I typically don't do that. I go in blind a lot or just like change sets, and I hunt a very like aggressive quartering wind. Like I almost give up my wind most times. Mm-hmm. And tonight it just worked out that it wouldn't be that way with the south-southwest, and the rub line told me they could cruise that and freshen that because it was fresh. And the picture said the same thing, but the pattern was back to bed actually. But something with the cold weather and just Iowa and that first snow and stuff, like, and like the lockdown breaking up, like you guys were saying, something told me like be there, be in the chips. The last time, like I told you, I'd left deer. They were younger deer, a couple does and like a 2-year-old rolled through on me. I left them to go home and hunt that night after seeing them like that morning, and kind of kicked myself for that. So I sat right in that area, and I actually got pretty aggressive with my calling. One, because if I carry it to the woods, I just can't seem to leave it hanging there without.
I'm the same way. If I'm bringing it, I'm using it.
I get on stand, I get situated.
It's like me with snacks, though.
Dude,
if I bring them
for real. That meme where it's like pack snacks at 3:30, climbs on stand 5 o'clock, eats snacks 5:02. That's me every time.
Get settled in. You're like, what'd I bring today? 100%.
Darn, I'm hungry all of a sudden. So I got set up and I sat down, and I have like witnessed a breeder grunt through someone else's post, and I was like, man, I'd been doing that wrong. So initially I was like, I'm going to give that a try because, like, this should be kind of towards the end of, like, the peak breeding. It was like, if they hear that, maybe they'll get perked up by that. So I did that and waited maybe 5-10 minutes and no movement, no sound. And I'm like, well, I'm going to bang antlers before something gets, close enough to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a pretty aggressive, longer, like 20, 30-second rattle. And then I did the breeder grunt, like, within it and hung him up, sat, and nothing really seemed to be going on. And I was like, well, let me try contact grunts. Contact grunted twice, waited 5-10 minutes, nothing. And then I added a doe to the party. So I slid the extinguisher to doe and bleated that doe bleat, man. And it felt like not even 30 seconds went by, and I could hear one coming through the woods, like coming quick. And sure enough, then, front shoulder, see leg. And I'm like, okay, where's the rack? Like, that's a big-bodied deer rack. And initially I pick up bow. And I see rack, and I'm like, not the age class I want, because I was fortunate enough to take my first 3.5-year-old, I believe, out of Wisconsin on the 28th of October. So I was like, it'd be cool to take a 4.5-year-old, but, like, a good buck to me is still that 3.5-year-old, like, Pope and Young class right around there. So I think it'd be pretty hard for me to pass a solid 3.5-year-old. So he took a few more steps, and I was like, no, he's a good deer. And he kept coming, and it just so happened he wasn't going to come, like, to me. He was going to, like, just quarter by me. And I had to actually sit down, moved my camera, zoomed in, thought I put it on the lane, and I had to sit down and lean forward and, like, be supported by my harness because the branch next to me ran, like, shoulder height when I sat down. So I had to draw under it. And when he came into the lane, I stopped him at 32 and sent one. And I did stop him, and he kind of, like, looked right. It was probably too loud because he, like, pretty much pegged me in the tree, I felt like. And some of that was like, you're on him, like, start shot sequence. And shot broke, and I watched it go mid-body, mid-mass, like, middle front to back ways. And, like, coming back on it now, I think he was, a step quartered too just by the angle he was coming by me. And I'd never really compensated for that. Like, I probably should have hugged shoulder quite a bit with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm still learning all this. So I gave him some time, let him lay, because arrow hit, passed through, and he turned around on a dime and went straight downhill, straight down the draw, tail tucked, like running like a bat out of hell. And I'm like, this is good. Like, he's storming off. He's going somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And I just let time pass and was like, you know what? I want to back out. I want to get out of here. It's like 2:30, like plenty early. I let 20 minutes pass, climbed down, went and checked my arrow. Good blood. Didn't see guts. I thought I saw bubbles, but with this snow, my buddy was telling me it'll brighten blood on you. And like I think it kind of fooled me into thinking I clipped a lung. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give him hour. I actually gave him, I think, hour and a half before I even started tracking. When I went back in and started following, man, I only had pin drops, but I tried not to, like, panic because I know, like, the lungs have to fill up before they, like, start blowing out their nose and stuff. And so I stupidly kept following pin drops of blood to what I thought was a bed of his, but it was cold enough to where I think it was the bed he got up out of and came to me, because when he got to me quick, and I heard him, like, right away. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty positive that was his first bed. Continued past that, still on pin drops, and I'd get softball size spots where there was like 100 little drops. And I'm like, I think I'm in one lung. I think I'm in the one lung, part of liver. And I actually found a part at one time that makes me believe I'm only in liver now and guts, because like there was just like it almost looked like I picked up a soybean at one time, and with blood around it and stuff. And I'm like, man, that's stomach, that's guts.
Was any of the blood gritty?
Gritty?
Yeah, almost like it had sand or. Because if you clip some guts, it'll almost imagine like applesauce. Mm-hmm. If you get some bloody applesauce type stuff, that can be some liver and guts together. But
So I continued tracking because I just kept looking for that spot where he was going to fill up and like just be blowing out blood. And eventually I came to another bed, and when I temp checked that one, it was fairly warm. Now it could have been a doe that got up, but his track went right to it, and then if you look past the bed, like straight track downhill into the next draw. So at that point I was like, I just need to get the frick out of here. I've already messed this up a bit. And talking to my blood tracker buddy out of Michigan now, he's like, dude, like, call me after you take shots. Like, don't wait till you get down to Casey's 3 hours later to run it by me. He's like, because that deer would have been dead if you left him for 6 hours and just backed out and went in the morning. He'd been right there in that bed. Like, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So I'm like beating myself up, but I'm not, because I think I'm going to find him I'm fairly confident I'll find him in the morning. And now that you're sleeping in, you're probably going to get drug along. So
I know. That's what I was thinking.
he said, I
Might as
know.
well.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Good talk, bro. And then
Good
we'll be
talk.
meeting up with you probably. But,
Nice.
you know, a lot of it was I wanted to use the light. And like my buddy said, he's like, that blood's the devil. Like, blood's great. That's what you want. But, like, it can really make you feel ways you probably shouldn't feel.
Right.
And that's what it did to me for sure. It kept dragging me right along, and I kept looking for more instead of just
kept wanting to believe, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, you know, I'm trying not to be hard on myself, but this is now the second one almost in the same area, like 1 month later. And, you know, I haven't had a chance to hunt Iowa since 2016, my first year, and I missed a good one my first year. I was kind of going to hold out and try and hunt that spot, but I've been really studying this piece in this area and running intel and stuff. So, like, if I can get a crack at a 3.5-year-old, I'm probably there's plenty of 4-year-olds in there. I think I could really seal the deal on a 4-year-old. That I was going to come in here and throw a hunt at it, you know, before I go back to work tomorrow. And now I called into work and basically told them these animals are my life. I know I don't have any vacation or time off, but I'm not going to be there. You know, if my job's still there, I'll see you tomorrow at noonish if I find this deer. You know, if not, I'll be in to talk about it either way. So that's where we stand.
Man, I hope you find him, man.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I'll knock on some wood. It's like I've missed, obviously. That's been really apparent this year. I've never had that happen before, and missing in general has sucked, and has made me question my shot, made me question like everything pretty much, right? And just, you know, I know hitting something and just like having to wonder and wait till the next day. I know you went through it last year, you know, John.
2 years
2 years
ago.
ago. Yeah, no, yeah, not last year. Last year, I had the crazy 8th where you killed that deer on the 8th.
Yep.
But yeah, 2 years ago you had it, and it was just like, I remember the phone conversations with you just eating you up.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? It just
sucks.
It's just, I don't know. There's not much worse than hitting and or missing. You know what I mean? Especially whenever it's, I mean, that's like a sweet hunt that came together. I mean, you were just in town,
so
you know.
I left out the fact that when I got down and checked that arrow, I'm standing there and like I'm not seeing blood, and I'm like trying not to panic, because in Wisconsin I flat out just panicked, backed out. Like, you can use dogs up there, so just put it all on like blood tracking dogs. Like, don't care. I've already had a bad experience in Iowa. I'm gonna get a tracker in here. I'm gonna get out of here. And like the whole time I was like 60 yards from him. Like, if I just looked down off the bench, he was piled up there. He died right away. When I heard him crash, he did crash and die.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I know to like not panic. Like, so I wasn't panicking, but I'm down. I finally find the arrow and bend over, and I pick it up, and I can hear a deer coming to my right. And I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. And the whole time I can like smell a rut and buck. And I'm like, man, is there a nut? Because this one's coming from that way. My wind's coming from that way. So I'm thinking it's him down there dead. Well, now I'm thinking about all this now. There's like drops of urine right there, like where you see my arrow pass through. It's like, so sure enough, went through guts, right? That was liver and guts, and I broke his bladder open. And that was, you know, or he pissed himself, and I don't think that happened. I think since I was back enough, I tore him open. But yeah, sure enough, he came. I had I would say 140s with some trash come like in the 7 yards, like me to the curtain hanging there, and it's just like, man, so like cool hunt. I've never had an experience like that. Like when you were talking about hot does running through, like I've only seen one like full out chasing experience.
Really?
So yeah, and that was in Kentucky last year, and it just so happened I had a hunter walk in on me that morning, and like I didn't move, and I was flashing him, but he didn't see me, and turns out he was full draw on that deer, and then went back in the next night and killed that deer, and I actually went on the same bench and killed my deer the next night. So I don't know, rut's not over, but
No.
a lot of good hunting left, and thankfully the temps are working on our side. So
Well, yeah, well, that's the other good thing, man. It's like it's plenty cold, so you get in there tomorrow, find that deer. It'd be just like someone hung him in a meat locker for you overnight.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no harm, no harm.
And I
no
get to
foul
hang
there.
out with you guys for the night now.
That's right. We actually get to do the podcast,
Right,
and
right.
hang out. So it was meant to be.
I guess.
So the plan will be, you guys find his deer in the morning, and I'll shoot that stupid 8-point that keeps mocking me around like
We're already going to be in the
noon.
parking lot.
right.
Yeah, we're just going to be sitting there waiting
Yeah.
for text
Wait.
messages.
Yeah, be like, come on, dude. We already drug one out. You know?
Right. Let's get the party started. Make it happen.
I think 8:30, dude.
8:30.
Yeah, just crack right away. I think he'll surprise you again.
Yeah, I hope, man. It's it'd be interesting. It'd be a little bit of redemption if I could
No
make it
doubt.
happen. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, good Lord. My wife was like, he's obviously your deer. She's like, you keep
Yeah.
showing up to check you out. Like he's obviously. I'm like, at this point, I think I just kind of want to take him home as a pet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we've got to know each other a little bit.
Catch
you
and
know?
release, collar him, you know.
Catch and
Well, like,
release,
yeah, you're so deep in this now. Are you like invested in him now? Because like it's kind of personal now.
Right.
I was for a moment.
Because like time's ticking for you too now.
Yeah, I got 2 more days left, 2 more full days, because I'll be busting out here Saturday morning early. So I was invested in him. I'm not 100%. I mean, I'd like to kill him just because he's been the one I've seen multiple times, had multiple experiences with him. Super cool deer, big deer. I'd love to put a tag on him.
Right,
100%. And there'd be a little bit of redemption that would be part of it. You know what I mean? That would be kind of come full circle for the 2 weeks. But my heart's not set on him. My goal was to try to get back on him after I missed him, which was kind of crazy considering it's rut and you'd have no clue where they're going to end up or whatever. But, as luck would have it, and I did a little bit of homework, I figured out where I might find him, and I found him, and he just kind of keeps coming back. And so I think to your point, John, what you were saying a little earlier, I don't remember if we were even recording at this point or not, but we were talking about, lockdown happening and it feels like they're just starting to get ready to come out of lockdown, and that makes sense because this dude's clearly living in that spot. Because the first time I saw him with a doe, night after, a doe came through like maybe 40 minutes before him, and he wasn't like he was coming in on her. He just kind of came in and was checking out where like the rattling sequence came from. And then tonight he was completely solo. So it's like obvious that he's living like right in that one of those 2 draws right there by the draw that I'm sitting in. So
He could be the boss in there.
that's what I was kind of thinking
Like
too.
if he's got enough does around him, he's not gonna go. You know?
that was my hypothesis, right? Was that because I have a cell camera hanging in there and I keep getting does on it hitting a scrape, right? And it hitting a licking branch. And my thought was like the sign in there was pretty big, and I was like, man, if he's king shit of Turd Island, like, and he has does around, like, why would he leave? Like, why would he go anywhere? Like I feel like a mature deer knows how to play the game and is like, if I don't have to move, I'm not going to. I'm going to kind of lay and wait till I find a hot one. I'm just going to take the hot one that's close. I'm not going to chase them around. I'll just, hang out in my territory. I got girls around and pick them up whenever I can,
Hey, ladies.
Man, I 2 days. I think you'll get on him. I do.
I hope. I have a plan for tomorrow, so I'm not abandoning him entirely. One of 2 things is going to happen, and I'll throw this out to you guys. You tell me what you think. So I'm going to hunt the spot where I missed him the first time tomorrow, because that's where that scrape is that the does keep hitting in the morning, right? So I'm going to set up on that tomorrow. I've got a good just off wind for that spot where, depending on where he comes from or a deer comes from, they'll feel like they have the wind advantage, but it should be semi in my favor. I'm going to get down then, pretty, I guess, early morning-ish, or late morning, I should say. And I'm going to do a little bit of scouting. And a part of the the piece that I've not been to yet and just see if I can find some hot sign that maybe set up on, because I feel like I'm seeing scrapes open back up. Like today was the first day that I saw like multiple scrapes open back up on 2 different pieces. And so I feel like hot sign could come back into play again at this point, because they're coming out of lockdown. They're starting to lay down sign again to kind of get ready to catch the next batch of does. It'll come in like the beginning of December, right? So it almost feels like it's that last week of like October again. You know what I mean? To a degree. So I want to do that. If I don't find anything that's super appealing, I'm thinking of going back to the spot that I've had like the past 3 encounters with him, but getting off the edge and pushing back into the bedding, getting actually up on the ridge, out of that draw, and getting into where where I've seen him come out of a couple times and get more up in his business.
Right.
And because at that point, it's like where I'm set up now, he can kind of come in as I'm calling and can kind of, from a distance, kind of get a lay of the land and figure out, is there a deer over there? Where's that deer at? Mm-hmm. But if I can push back in a little bit further, it's thick enough to where it's like he's going to have to commit if he wants to see who's making the noise in his home. You know what I mean? And so those are my 2 strategies, I think, for the remainder of my trip. Is I'm going to focus on that piece because I've seen a ton of sign on that piece particularly. So I know I'm going to be on that parcel. I'm just not 100% sure where yet until I get some ground underneath my feet and see what's shaking. So what do you guys think? What is one of the other strategy more appealing to you, or?
Well, I mean, what you're doing is working. It's worked 4 times.
Right.
Well, 3 times, and the 4th is just that he got downwind of you. You know,
yeah. He learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, granted, this is the first time that he's winded you, so you know, I don't know if he's going to change a little bit. I would think that because he's been shot at a couple times, maybe he would have already changed, but he hasn't. So you might not be hunting the most intelligent one in the world.
Good for me.
Which I've always said. I'm like, hey, give me the dumbest buck in the world. I don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Aren't you the one that says, I just want to kill the 2-year-old turkey? Maybe it's not
no,
you. It's like 2-year-olds talk their heads off, but like,
yeah.
you can't, like, once they get 3 or 4, they get smart. But.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, for me, turkeys, any turkey with an 8-inch beard's a booner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're all booners. 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 10-year-old, you know?
Right.
Booner turkeys.
So I'd push back on that ridge. Like, it gets thicker back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the bedding's at.
I'm learning, like, that's what's, like, major about my calling setups. Because, like, they're going to try and come downwind of it, right? But, like, tonight, if they tried to come downwind of me, they would have had to walk on an access path, basically.
Right.
I was, like, almost sitting on the access path tonight.
Right. And that's where I was set up tonight, right? And the first time he came in, he didn't want to, right? Like, the first time I guess the second time I shot at him and missed him, he followed a doe and she brought him out of the bedding, right? The next time in that same spot that I saw him yesterday, he walked straight out of the thick stuff on top this time, though, to come out and check and see who was in his bedroom making all that noise, right? And tonight he finally was like, you know what? He ended up crossing that access path probably 60 yards up from me and then getting into the pine thicket behind me and coming behind. So he only exposed himself for like a split second when he crossed that path to get into the pine thicket, and then he disappeared again so he could get behind me to scent check me. And I did that purposefully because I was like, he's not going to want to expose himself if he doesn't have to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think he's had 2 iffy encounters in that general area where he's walked in expecting to see a buck, didn't see one, and he was like, all right, I'm going to go. I'll take the risk of this exposure for like 3 seconds to get downwind here and see who's making all that noise. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But I kind of feel like, Connor, I think I'm kind of leaning toward that because it's like it's hard to give up the spot, especially when I know it keeps working. And it's like it's one of those things where it's like I'm being mobile, where it's like I'm just changing the spot within the spot. I keep kind of refining it and tightening the noose a little bit, trying to get into a setup to where it's like he has to commit. Because that's the thing. He's always stayed like 25 to like 30 yards away.
You know you're seeing him early evening, right?
Like 2:30, 3 o'clock every time.
Yeah, dude. I would be in there by 1, set up like way back on that point where he's probably coming across because there's a draw past it probably.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming across it or he's on that point. And I mean, I don't know. I like to blow out deer. So it's like I just like learn a lot about it. And it's like you're in there, you done it. It's like now you know the wind. Now you know why he's there. Now you can see what he's doing in there. And, you know, people get cautious about it, but like there's proof with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I think that'll probably be the first place I quote unquote go scout tomorrow after I get down from the morning hunt is I'm probably just going to push in there right away and see if there's a setup that might work. And maybe he's laid down some sign in there, you know what I mean? That I can see.
I would say there's probably definitely going to be sign in
some
there.
rubs or something, right? There's one other setup that I thought about. It's along that same access path, but further up is where like his hammer rub is in like a couple scrapes that just reopened up.
Is that hammer rub leading back to his bed?
You can get there pretty easy. It's not far from it.
But like the direction of it. Like if he's walking and hitting that rub and he continues to walk, is it going towards where he walk out of?
Yes, it is.
I might hunt that in the morning.
That's kind of that's originally where I wanted to set up.
Is it going to be downwind of that scrape too?
Southwest. It will be
like at all.
I'm trying to think because it kind of wraps around. So I'm trying to think how that path kind of winds and like what my wind would be.
Yeah, is it because is it just on the one side of the tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a Greg Litzinger like sidekick.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
He's your sensei in a way.
He's
sensei.
He is kind of my sensei.
Dude, dude's a rub line nut.
He may not claim me right now with my two misses. But.
Yeah, I can't believe he's like he's not telling you not to hunt scrapes.
No, well, see, I dabble in a little bit of both. Like, Greg definitely, like, you know, I learn a lot from Greg, and he definitely is my, you know, he is the sensei. Like, we talk a lot. We're actually talking.
He's like the East Coast sensei.
Yeah, he is. But I also pull a lot of stuff from John Eberhardt, and he's a big primary scrape guy. You know what I mean? So in terms of priority, it's like I will prioritize a primary scrape area over a rub line.
Ooh,
yeah. But Greg will not because I mean, for obvious reasons, and it depends, right? Like not all scrapes are created equal. You know, it's like if I'm going to hunt a scrape, like it's got to be like either in the cover or it needs to be like right next to the cover, side cover, where the deer could get lost immediately.
Sure.
You know, because if not, like it's just not going to get checked in daylight or whatever. You know, so that's kind of my criteria. If that's not the case, then yes, I do like to hunt rub lines as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've had some interesting encounters hunting rub lines, but I've actually had better encounters hunting primary scrape areas. But I think that you just made a good point. I think you just changed how I'm going to scout tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, man.
I think I'm actually going to tomorrow. I think I'm going to start at that rub, and I'm going to make my way from that rub toward where I keep seeing him.
Yeah.
And kind of because there's a draw in between.
Right.
Right. So there's a draw there. There's the ridge, and then there's the draw that I'm set up on.
And then the rubs.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Dude. So, my buddy killed one tonight in Indiana, bump and dump style.
Really?
Like, because like you think about it, like especially if he thinks one's been in there fighting or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if something comes like tiptoeing in on him in his bed and he doesn't have the wind of it, you're gonna blow him off of it. But then like this time of year, he's likely to come right back to that thing because he doesn't want to leave his does. He knows that area is secure.
And sit right up on that thing and rattle,
dude.
You know,
I wouldn't do that, but
like,
my buddy said this one came back.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
You might back her down a little bit, Hoss.
Is that what they do in PA?
I'm going to get in there and just piss all over his stuff, you know. Do PA, you don't even carry rattling antlers into PA. Like you blow everything out of the timber, you crack those things together in Pennsylvania.
Right. And that's what those boys down there were saying is they don't bring calls to the woods at all.
I bring a grunt tube and that's it. And that really is, you know, that's like a
last ditch effort.
Yeah, it's like if I see something from like whatever distance away and they're moving the opposite direction of me, and
try and turn them.
That's exactly it. Yeah, because I've had them stop, look, and be like, "What was that? There's a deer over there. Go this way."
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't need to fight for does in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's like 4-1.
Do you ever do anything like when you get on stand? in like a gnarly oak with like some leaves left, like I kind of imitate scraping in a way without even calling. Like I might do that first if I have a like leafy oak branch. Like I am freaking shaking that thing, especially if you get right in his bedroom and you find that like scrape he might be hitting before you're seeing him.
Yeah, or even if you've got your rattling horns, take those horns and start
I was
breaking
doing
that tree.
That might have been what brought him in tonight, because I literally did a rattling sequence, and I forgot I even did that, and I just started taking my antlers and just scraping the side of the tree, just giving it hell, you know. But one thing I like to do, I think I mentioned it on the show before, is when I rattle sometimes.
Are we getting feedback from me or?
I don't know, from a phone probably somewhere. But
we both move ours and it stops.
Yeah.
Put
back in the pocket.
After I bring my bow up, I take my tow rope and my antlers on a piece of paracord and have a loop on it, and I'll flip my T bracket or my piece of, I use a lone wolf like tow rope or whatever. I'll put it through the loop and I'll throw them on the ground, and I'll bang them off the ground to make it sound like hooves. I said for John.
Hooves.
Hooves.
Okay. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Called him hooves. Okay.
Hooves.
Oh, he did do his 10 push-ups. By
Yeah,
the way.
I did do my 10 push-ups. Like he can confirm, I did my 10 push-ups.
So we have to explain this.
Yeah.
It's like a genuine pet peeve. Only because I had a buddy of mine that used to always say K when he was pissed. You know what I mean? So
So you think I'm pissed off?
yeah.
there?
So whenever somebody like you ask somebody a question or you say something
Via
on
text
message, and they respond with just the letter K, every time I'll text the person back and I'm like, oh my God, like what are you going to do with your infamous amount of time that you save by not typing the letter O in front of the K? So
exactly.
So Clint did it to me today, and I sent him a message back, and I said, I expect 10 push-ups since you have all that extra free time, since you didn't type the letter O in front of K.
And I did my push-ups. I always forget that it annoys the living shit out of you.
Yeah,
but
just because it like, and I know that obviously you weren't pissed, but like it's always one of those things because of that one buddy, and I'm like, oh, like it just got it gets under my
damn word.
Yeah, like just put the letter O and it's a foul.
I know you're doing nothing.
Yeah, I was like, I know you're sitting in that cabin, you ain't doing nothing.
Oh man, but yeah. So I like to bounce them off the ground. That way it trashes the leaves around and stuff like that. It makes it sound like there's deer in the area.
If I can, like, obviously, you know, different states, different trees, different timbers, and stuff like that. You know, my preferred tree stand set is I want a lot of cover in front of me, and I definitely want solid cover behind me. And even if it means I got 180 degrees that I can't shoot in, you know, whatever I feel like my preferred shot window is going to be. And so with any kind of branches and leaves, I want to leave some of those there. And I'll actually take my horns, and like if this is a big branch, I'll take my horns and have that inside my horns. So then you kind of get that like leaves and their feet are moving around. And, there's a buck that I had an encounter with a couple days ago while the carnies were still in town. And I actually climbed down and went behind my set. And I'm like literally doing like the moonwalk. Like,
I remember
in the leaves.
Yeah.
And I'm just like shuffling my feet around, and I'm like, crack.
Well, I think
crack as hard as I can. And Taylor was still up in the tree filming. And I'm like, if you see something, like holler, because I've got to get all the way up in the tree, get situated, get my bow and everything. And I'm going up. And I'm like, I put my hand on my platform and I look up at him and I said, anything? And he's like, he scans one more time. He's like, I got nothing. I'm like, cool. As soon as my 1 foot steps on the platform, he goes, big buck. And I was like, you know, you got 1 foot on the platform, one on the last climbing stick. And I'm like,
getting wobbly legged
yeah.
already.
I was like, what is it, man? And I get into my stand and I just pull my binos out and I'm like, you know, and I just see this wall of tines, and ended up that was the buck that I had the sheds from 3 miles away.
Okay.
The first night I met the drifter.
And that's
Connor.
funny. Did you text me that? Because I had a question like a month ago, and I'm like, man, how far? Like, do you see a lot of your bucks like relocating like that down here?
Yeah.
Because like my camera just had these 2 deer like running this ridge back to bed, and then I had them hard horned. I lost the one, but I picked up like a couple new bucks too, and this one's just been there like still now. He's there somewhere. I someone rattled him in November 3rd and had him at like 25 yards full draw, but no shot, just too thick. So it's like that one's a home body, I feel like. And I do, obviously they've got bigger ranges, like you just said.
Sure.
But I think you can find areas, man, like out here, if you put your time in, where it's just that secure that they don't shift.
And I think that's what I got going on with this dude. You know what I mean? I think he's super secure in there. It's 150 yards off a road.
Well, if he's a
mean?
resident deer too his whole life, like if he born there, I've got another piece down here that's just like handfuls of like 2 and 3 year olds, and it's just like the likelihood of them sticking around, if they're and they were sparring like like stripped velvet sparring right away, like all up to opener, and then I haven't been back in to pull that card, but something just told me with the number of bucks, it's like, how are they all like here already? Like,
right.
Well, so here's a question. Would you rather see one of your shooters from 300-400 yards away, or would you rather have him at 20 yards and not be able to get a shot on him because it was too thick?
Did he bust you when he was at 20 yards?
No, I guess.
See, I'd rather have him close.
Yeah.
Like personally, just because I also want to study him if I can.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like a little bit. Because that's the one thing with this deer. It's like now, like if I add up all the minutes I've had with him over these 4 different encounters, I've probably got to spend like 10 minutes with him. You know what I mean? Over 4 different encounters, and that's like the last one when I saw him, that I kind of confirmed for me, like, okay, he's cock of the walk in here because he comes in,
Proud.
chesty,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? High head, you know what I mean? Like he's all that, you know what I mean? He doesn't get real
Usually the way I
spooky.
walk it, like when I walk
The way you walk in normally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I'm defeated right now, man. I'm just like,
But he doesn't get real super spooky. Like he's real, like whenever he didn't feel right yesterday, he didn't bust out of there. He just turned real slow and just like walked back where he came from. And it just like, he doesn't, he's measured, like, but he's not super aggressive. He's not one of those deer you crack the antlers, he's coming in to kick your ass. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's been rolled before. I feel like he's probably not the biggest buck in the area, but I feel like he's the one who lives there. I feel like there's probably a bigger one that
he knows the pecking order and
yes,
he feels pretty safe
And like
where he's at.
I
Yes.
think like we can
100%.
confirm that because like the way you're talking about how he moves, like it's like he knows the wind tunnels in there.
Oh yeah.
And he's
spent time
Yeah, he knows them. So like when that like you slightly moved tonight and he stood and just looked straight, like he's waiting that as long as he can for that swirl and that thermal to suck to him because he knows where he needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So I prefer them close because especially if I don't get busted, because I want to see some body language and see what I can get him to do or not do. That way for future hunts, I have a little bit more information about him.
Yeah.
What do you think, Connor?
I'll have to agree there, especially if they don't bust you because you can see his travel route is mainly the thing in the trail. And I'll agree with the demeanor. Like you said, demeanor's a big thing that I learned this year. I ran a lot of my higher end cameras on video and like just seeing like where that deer goes after that picture comes or that camera clicks is like pretty key on like how I scouted and just demeanors and stuff. And if they're hitting, rub posts, if they're not hitting rub posts, they're just moving right through. And so I think you're right where you need to be, just a small adjustment. And
all right. Well, I think that's what my strategy is going to be for the
just
next 2
don't
days.
hold low, dude.
I know, no shit. Jeez.
Quit it.
I know. Quit it.
Things got a third access. I did the same
What is it
thing
they
like
say?
a month
Hit 'em
ago.
low, watch them go. Hold 'em high,
Ooh.
watch them die.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
That's a good one. Yeah, I have to remember that. Actually, I'm going to write that on a note and put it on my bow.
Yeah.
Actually.
Right, take a Sharpie, write it down the arrow shaft.
Right. Well, I know for me, it's like the next 2 days, because I just have 2 days. It's go for broke. So it's, it's aggressive, make it happen.
All gas, no brakes.
That's right. Yeah, I have nothing to lose at this point. I blow them out. I blow them out.
Yeah, and and the consequences. I mean, hell, you can come back in 4 years.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say that, dude.
That deer will be like 9 years old.
Yeah, he'll be like 100. Well, no, like 242 inches, right? Something
Right,
like
yeah.
that, because it's Iowa.
Right,
There's a booner behind every tree.
Every tree.
So he's gonna blow up. Like I saw a 1.5-year-old yesterday. It was probably 110. It'll be 160 next year for
Yeah.
sure. 2.5.
Yeah.
Should probably take him.
Yeah. Yeah, he might.
Yeah.
Well, I've said this on almost every podcast that whenever the question comes up, people say, what is your target buck? And I always say, I'm targeting mature bucks. There was a time where theoretically in my head, it was like, I'm only shooting 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds and they got to be like 160 plus. And then I woke up, from that dream. And I realized, no, I just like shooting mature bucks.
Right.
But
For
you
me,
give
it's
me
the
a
good
spotted
bucks, yeah.
fawn that's sporting 160, getting an arrow.
Yeah. Look
Right.
out.
You know what I mean?
The Kip Campbell's coming through and I'm smoking
Yearling
that thing.
buck that's 160, getting shot all day. And that's me. I mean, does it make me a
Bad guy.
bad
You got to
guy?
let him grow, man.
I know. But I definitely like mature deer, and I got really caught up in that buck the other night, and I was actually Taylor was running video, and I was actually had my camera, and I'm just taking pictures of him lip curling, and and I'm like, this is all cool stuff. This is the stuff that geeks me out. Then I'm like, all right, I probably ought to take a look at this buck. I might want to shoot him or something. And I was like, nah, I don't think I want to shoot him.
Did he make your heartbeat?
He did, but I get that way just because I was like focusing on the camera. You know
Dude,
what I mean?
I get that way with a doe. You know what I mean? It's like
I do too.
I get jazzed up just seeing deer in general. You know what I mean?
Well,
It
with does, I don't get it until I reach for my bow.
Mm.
But if I just have a doe walking by, I'm like, that's awesome, that's cool. But if I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna shoot that doe. Oh, Lord! I might want to get the old ticker check tomorrow. Don't die in the tree.
That's me. I'm definitely going off heartbeat or like the whitetail experience guys. Like I just want a good one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, the buck I shot last year, my buddy Billy C. You know Billy, and
Yep.
you probably
I know
Billy.
of him. I've never met him.
Yeah, he came down and was running a camera for me, and it was one of those hunts where it's just a cool day. The whole day was just awesome, and there was some bad stuff that happened, and some bad luck stuff, but it was such a cool thing. And then this buck comes in and 400 yards, he turns on a dime, runs all the way, and I'm like, I have to kill him. I can't let this buck go. This was too much fun, and that's what him and we talked about it last year. We said, is it the biggest buck that was out here on this farm? No, but it was probably the most fun buck, you know what I mean, that we got to have fun with. And that was a nice reminder because, I came out here, and I've said this before, coming from Kentucky to Iowa, when I came out here, I'm like, oh, I'm going to the land of giants. There's a 180 behind every tree. I'm going to see 180s just gallantly running across these
walking
fields.
access pass and stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, get out of here, 170. I want to shoot that 180. You know what I mean? There are farms that have.
Have you seen a 180
bucks.
since being in Iowa?
I saw a 176 I was at full draw and didn't get to release an arrow on.
That's painful.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I know what happened too.
Wind switched on me when I was at full draw, and I didn't feel it because I was in the moment. You know what I mean? And probably at full draw, like hood and everything was pulled up, and it took watching the video several times before I see this leaf over my head this way,
Switch.
and then it goes
rolls.
Yeah.
Oh.
and he was like at a scrape, and he just popped his head up through a nose and started walking backwards.
Oh, wow.
And he was head on at me, but he was supposed to come in and turn at the scrape, and he just literally started backing up, and I'm like, no. But
Was that down close to turnaround? The horse trail turnaround?
That was a 173.
Oh, okay.
That was the first year.
Okay.
The one I was just talking about was the second year I was here. And I've had some 80 class bucks on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Just never had visual, on the hoof.
On the hoof.
On the hooves. But
So me and Josh had a cool morning like you were talking about. We go in this place. I think we scouted it the evening before, hung the set, come in there. You're sitting there and it's kind of overlooking some water. and there's just this big grass, and like he never even wanted to go back there, I don't think, but it kind of laid out like one of those Iowa spots is why I targeted it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like between two big ridges, and there's just this like birchwood draw between the two back on the back of the fields, like the fields everyone else would hunt, but on the back side of that draw is like a bay almost, and the bay's like not full of water. It's like completely down, and there's almost like a green grass on it. And I'm like, sure enough, there's sign back there. There's tracks cutting across it. And I'm like, they're running this back half because people are hunting them on the front half. We cut a big rug back there. So we hung the scent, and we're sitting there. Starts to come bright. And you know how you hear like coyotes like over the ridge and stuff, and like several of them. Then you hear them way off this way, way off this way. It's like, cool. Well, then all of a sudden one is like barking on top of us, like from this side. And then the other one across the ridge is like barking on top of us too, like shakes you out of the tree almost.
Oh, yeah.
And sure enough, we start hearing turkeys, yelping, flying down, pitching down. And all of a sudden you look out in the bay and you can see like 3 or 4 coyotes just running the banks, like just following each other, just parading out there. And we look across the bay, and there's one sitting like a dog, like sat like a dog for like 5-10 minutes and just looked over this bay for movement. And you look back off that one, sure enough, the night before when we hung the set, I busted a blonde coyote down in there when we were hanging the set. And sure enough, there's a blonde coyote laying out in the field, and it's just got a white face on it. It was just a cool morning like that.
Yeah.
We saw a buck. Yeah. We saw like a 2-year-old that morning, like probably 110-8. And it's like, I wanted to try and get Josh's heart going on that one, but he walked right by us. He actually hit our wind, but, it's that time of year, and Josh was like, "What? This is done." And I'm like, nah. He, like, was moving. You know how they're moving enough, like, they want to go through there? Like, he hit that wind and was like, I still want to go through here, but I don't want to walk right through there. So he tried to hook around us, and he came by. He probably could have shot him, but just not what we were looking for. So
Yeah.
Well, a couple days left, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
get out of here and head back to Pennsylvania.
the other land of giants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what
You
giants.
got a
there
tag
are,
out
but-
there still?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hershey bars.
Giant Hershey bars are giant Hershey bars.
bars.
Yeah.
Giant.
Hershey
Yeah,
Kisses.
I've not killed anything yet this year. It's I had a couple. I had one really good encounter in Pennsylvania. Actually, 2 on some freestyle hunts I did over a primary scrape area. One was actually over a rub line. So
We're
I
still
split
50-50.
split the difference
Yep.
between the two. And then I got shot at by some duck hunters, that busted up one of my spots. Which,
That's always a good time.
yeah. I remember I texted you that. You're like,
I know.
You're kidding me. And
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus.
yeah.
If I don't turn, I need to look at some maps and kind of go with Plan B, or stick with Plan A and hope that everything kind of cycles back around again. But yeah, dude, I mean, I got a giant bear,
Yeah.
but I haven't killed a whitetail
Yeah.
yet this year. So
Yeah. I mean, shit. I get out of here if I just show you some pins of where I've been over on that other piece, because that deer's he'll still be over there, and he seems like a homebody. So it's like I'm sure if you left it die down for a little bit, you could probably get in there and get right back on him.
I have to think back to the stand that I've got hung over there now next to that standing corn. They've got to be going in and out of that corn.
I know. Well, because I mean, it's. I thought the same thing, which is why I went down and hunted that this morning, right? Because I was like, man, it's cold as cold as hell. Like, they gotta move. The doe's gotta eat, right? Like, why would they not go to the corn? Like, it's almost like late season for a doe.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like it was 18 this morning whenever I walked down.
Yeah, it's cold.
And I saw one doe with a buck following her from like 80 yards away, like up near the draw where they crossed that little land bridge from one draw to the next. And that was it. So
It's going to be chilly tomorrow morning. Maybe 24.
dude, that'll feel balmy compared to what we've had recently in the mornings. Like today, like I think the high was 34, and I got into my saddle and I was like, man, it's actually like not too bad out.
I just tent camped the other night. It was like 15 degrees. It's like we ran stoves and stuff, but
Man.
it was gnarly, man. Like, you think about it, if you're out on a mountain, what are you going to do, It's like,
Yeah.
just
That's what you do.
cowboy up.
That's right. cowboy up, spoon with your hunting buddy.
Yep.
On that note, I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it gets
On
weird.
the spoon note.
Awesome. Well, Drifter, thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate you stopping in. I'm glad we got to do this. Before we shut this thing down, though, let people know where they can find out more about you, where they can follow all your drifting madness.
Let's see. I have my Instagram handles, Whitetail Drifter. It's pretty much Whitetail Drifter across the board. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Yep.
So check me out.
Just making videos, doing stuff, drifting
Trying
about.
to, man. I'm not that interesting. I'm just broke, no wife, no kids, and hunt a lot. So if you like that, check me out.
Sounds like the dream. Awesome. Well, as always, thank you all for listening. We'll talk to y'all soon. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today's show. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. If you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We'd be super appreciative if you do those two things for us. And before I shut this thing down, I need to give a big shout out to our partners who continue to help us make this podcast possible. Tethered, Exodus Outdoor Gear, Skull Brew Coffee Company, Gumleaf USA Boots, Obsession Bows, Ramcat Broadheads, Trophy Taker Rests, and Dead Downwind. And until next time, we'll see y'all.